This is about my mood right now. Give me a second. Better. Hey everybody. Movie Viewer next door here, and so I saw this fucking thing. I'm not really gonna get all ragey or anything. Maybe at small points, but I just it's just one of those movies that takes it out of you because I was just so bored. And whenever shit happened, it was manipulative. Film I'm talking about is Skinamarink from 2022. If you don't know what this is, then I guess you haven't been around TikTok or any of the indie film circuits. This is a film. Right now it's streaming on Shudder. I found another place to watch it. It's an experimental film, and I'll get to that. Why that's a little horseshit. That people are talking about how original it is, how fantastically scary it is, how it's going to be the scariest movie of the year, which isn't hard. How it's going to be one of the scariest movies of all time because of how subversive it is. And then I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, that was a bit of a load of shit. Now, I'm not trying to discredit everyone's opinion. I'm not. That's not the type of person I am. Sometimes it might come off that way, but that's not what I mean. My main thing is that I can see what this film could have been, but this film didn't reach what it could have been. First off, on the whole originality thing. The film is about two kids who are in a house at night watching cartoons for most of the movie. They can't find their parents. Their parents will pop up and go away. No real rhyme or reason about it because it's experimental. There's not supposed to be any answers. Like a normal horror film where there'd be character development. So I really don't give a fuck about these two little shits. They just start watching cartoons. They're talking to each other. They're very annoying. I don't know who these kids are. They're probably just friends of the director, since this was made for $15,000 that he probably couldn't afford to hire any actors, so they're probably family members or cousins. But yeah, creepy shit goes on in the house. The doors disappeared, and yeah. The whole joke that people have made about the camera looking at walls and corners of the room and doors, those are right for the most part. For at least an hour of this hour and 40-minute film. And yeah, I usually don't care about how long a movie is, really, as long as it's well-paced. This movie is not well-paced. But 100 minutes is too much for this concept. Even to do this concept right, I'd say at the most 75, 80 minutes, maybe. But you need more shit happening in between the boring parts of this movie, which is most of the movie. There are some parts I'll get to which I thought were fine. I'm not gonna spoil it. There's nothing really to spoil though, because this is one of those movies that if you say you don't like it online, apparently you didn't get it. Or you don't understand the subtext or the hidden messages. I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to hear that. People make fun of me for using the word pretentious. That is pretentious. Someone feeling the need to love a movie just because it's different. Different doesn't always mean good. There are original horror films that I fucking love that did something new or something inventive with the genre that you can actually understand his movies because they make sense. I've got 5 of them right here. Hereditary. Fantastic horror film. I'm not a big A24 person. This is one of the few that I actually... the only one so far that I've actually loved. Hereditary is fantastic. Terrifying movie. Very different. Slow burn, but slow burn where shit happened at the end. Like, nearing the end, the movie, like, really ramped up, and it got really intense. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. This is one no one talks about. Colobos. This was a kind of, like, shot on video, I think. It was marketed as, like, a slasher, basically. But it's really not just that. Like, a bunch of young guys participate in a new experimental film, groundbreaking experimental film. They find out that the house is, like, booby-trapped and there's cameras everywhere. And basically, they have to survive the killer house, basically. It's a very interesting film. And while not perfect, really interesting and original. One of my favorite films ever, Audition. Very interesting with how the plot goes, how it starts out like a romantic drama kind of and descends into a fucked up horror film. Like, I just love this movie. Tag. Directed by Sion Sono. Like, this film is just, like, so fucking weird, and it's weird to, not to a fault, but to its, like, it helps it how weird it is. Like, it gives it its own identity. This film needed identity. And last, my favorite horror film ever, Flatliners. Very original idea, amazing execution, great acting from Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon, William Baldwin. Like, these are all films I'd much rather watch than this ever again. Because this movie just drags. Now, the whole purpose of the film, this is what the director has said. The whole purpose of the film is to make you feel like you're a kid again. And to make you feel like you're living through a nightmare. That's what it's supposed to be doing. I can see that on the surface level, but when you actually get into the film, it's not really that. It's a manipulative... If anything, it is what he's trying to get away from. It feels like he thinks he's making a subversive horror film that's playing on your fears, but none of that actually comes to any fruition in the film. And that, more than being angry at it, it disappoints me. It disappoints me that someone tried to make something subversive and people are eating it up. And I'm just like, people, why are you settling for this? When we have all of those movies that I just mentioned and many others that are so much scarier, more creative, and don't rely on jump scares. Flatliners didn't rely on jump scares. Hereditary, whenever the jump scares happened, it wasn't just a loud fucking sound that was added in afterwards to make the audience jolt. Like, that breaks the tension when you just have an unnatural sound come in like that. I just don't understand how these people just go through the shit and just... They watch these movies. Like, people went to the theater to watch this. This cost $15,000 to make, and it's made $2 million so far. That's a pretty big hit so far. Why are people, like, flocking to see this movie? I need an answer beyond you didn't understand it. Because this is one of those movies that if you say you don't like it, like I'm saying I don't like it, you're either wrong, didn't understand it, didn't get the subtext, or it's not for you. No. This movie should be for me. I love Paranormal Activity 3. I am one of the few people that says that that's the best one. I think the first one's fine. I do think the third one builds on it, and... Excuse me. I do think the third one builds on what the first one started, because it's a direct sequel to the first and second. I do think the second's a bit weak and a bit long. Because for a movie like that where cameras are mostly static, the second one had way too many moments of just nothing happening. Because in the first there was constant stuff happening, and the third one there was constant stuff happening. So, this film it feels like this is trying to be an avant-garde Paranormal Activity. But, and weird thing about that, Paranormal Activity was made on the same budget. There's so much more shit happening in Paranormal Activity, such better creative choices, better scares, better acting even. The acting in this is terrible, and I know that's not the main point. The main point is the atmosphere. But good atmosphere doesn't make a good film. That's like, if you make a movie that's stylish, that doesn't make it a good film. Like, you have to have something else. And this film is being billed as like this, like, new thing, like, as if this hasn't been done before. It's like this whole thing that happens, like, every few years, a movie will come out, like, say, Paranormal Activity, 2009. And then, after that, there's a slew of forgettable, found footage films that no one watched, no one liked. And then, a bit after that, you get Deadstream on Shudder, which all of these people are eating up, talking about how original it is, and how scary it is, how funny it is, because it's a horror comedy, I guess, I think. I haven't seen it. I've just heard about that. And it's like, Paranormal Activity did that first, Blair Witch Project did that first, Cannibal Holocaust, if you want to go that far back, even though that's not a horror movie. I'm not a big fan of Blair Witch Project. I know a lot of people will be mad at me for that. I just think it's kind of boring. But like, and I hate the ending. But just this movie, there is no antagonist in this. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you want to have a horror movie that preys on fears, why not make the darkness a character? This is one of those films that is way too dark that I cannot tell what is happening in certain scenes. Yes, there were, I counted, 3 scenes that I actually thought were creepy. But you know what the issue is with all of those scenes? They end with a jump scare. The scenes where it's the first person view, and it's supposed to be the first person view of either Kaylee or Kayla or Kyle, whatever, the 2 kids, the boy and the girl. It's supposed to be the first person view. Those are creepy up until the stupid fucking loud sound jump scare that comes in. That's like, or there's like a scene of the girl looking at the wall and there's a doll, and then you hear like an ADR. It doesn't even feel like it's in the film. It might have been, but it sounds like ADR. It sounds like a sound effect added onto the film, where she's like, and it's like, that's fucking obnoxious, and it's not scary. Especially the phone jump scare at the end, where it's just one of those Fisher-Price phones, and it just goes, ding, and it's loud as fuck. I didn't have my headphones that loud. I didn't at all. My headphones were low. I had them at 20, I think. And it was pure ear rape. And I don't know how people can keep watching this shit and just being like, oh yeah, that was a good horror film. Like, what was scary about it? Other than those couple scenes that were ruined by the jump scares, what was scary about it other than the jump scares? Which jump scares aren't scary. If done right, and they are built up to without it just being or a loud sound, then it can be scary. Then it can actually like deliver an actual scare instead of just a shock. There's a difference between a shock and a scare. Shock is when it's just, oh, music comes in and it's like bah! After being quiet. And this film does that a lot, where it gets super quiet. The kids are whispering to each other. And then bah! That's not good filmmaking. I'm sorry, Kyle Edward Ball, if you ever see this, director of Skinamarink, I hope you get better from this, because I hate to be mean to filmmakers like this, but like it's not that I don't understand the film. I understand what it's going for, and just to tell all the people in the comments of all the reviews that say that they didn't like it, people are allowed to not like a movie. People are allowed to like a movie, even if you don't. Stop being a fucking snowflake. People are allowed to not like a movie that you like. It doesn't devalue your opinion, and you shouldn't devalue their opinion. You should be fair. If someone chooses to watch this movie, if someone chooses to watch a horror movie with the lights on, that's their choice. I watched this movie with all the lights off because I was trying to be like, okay, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe that'll help. It didn't. I just had my eyes adjusting for like 15 minutes after turning my lights back on because I have issues with my eyes. I could see this movie perfectly. At no point did it work for me. Now, I know that's just my opinion. Exactly. That's what this is supposed to be. It is my opinion. In my opinion, this film does not work. As a horror film, as supernatural horror, as an experimental film. Now, what I said about making the darkness a character, what I mean is something like in Final Destination films, where you have death basically as a character, killing these people off in these ridiculous ways. Have the darkness like morph. I know this movie, low budget, whatever, that's a fucking excuse. $15,000 is enough to make a movie, especially what this was going for. I don't know where the fuck that money went. Paranormal Activity, you can at least see the money on the screen. You've got like this gorgeous house, you have like shit catching on fire, you have interesting camera movements, like you have the house being haunted, shit happening. The most that happens in this movie is like toys move around, and I guess a kid gets stabbed off screen, but off screen doesn't cost anything, it's just a sound effect. But if you want, in my mind, if I were to do this movie, I would say, okay, let's make the darkness a character. Let's make the darkness like a non-corporeal, or like give the darkness a character, like maybe a face that you see a face that you see vaguely in the background at points. It wouldn't make the film fantastic, but it would really add some sense of urgency, because there's no sense of urgency except for at random points where the tension just ramps up. Well, tension ramps up and these kids get injured, or the girl loses her eyes or some shit. Like, it all just happens so randomly and without much reason. There's no real reason for any of this to be happening. There's no reason. This movie needed answers, and it needed character development. It needed all of the things that a film needs. It's not that people who hate this movie are gatekeeping horror, and that is the term I've heard many times. People are very butthurt that people don't like this movie, and they say they're gatekeeping horror. No, they just want a fucking scary movie. If the movie isn't scary, it's not horror. That's the whole point. If it's not scary or it doesn't make you feel this sense of dread, it's not horror. That's a big issue I have with a lot of these A24 films. Midsommar, I wanted to like Midsommar, but it just felt too much like Wicker Man, and I hate Wicker Man. Midsommar, like, it's so fucking long. Killing of a Sacred Deer, none of this shit made sense. What's the other one? Under the Skin was fucking boring and slow, and oh god, it was just like rough to get through those movies. Hereditary, at least, I know there are people who don't like Hereditary. There's a YouTuber I watch, I don't know if he'll mind me giving him a shout out, Rambo Raft for Life. He does not like the film at all. I can understand it. I've seen what his explanation is. We disagree on a lot of things, but that's the beauty of film criticism. You're allowed to disagree on things and still be on good terms with people, you know? Or at least that's what I thought. But just even given his things against it, which I do understand a lot of them, I still thought it was a very effective horror film. But that's the only one of those A24 movies that I've been like really like impressed by. Other than like A24 films that aren't horror, like The Florida Project. I liked The Florida Project. I just thought the ending was depressing. The Exception. Green Room was okay. What was the other one? Oh, Remember, with Christopher Plummer. Loved that movie. Mostly for his performance, but I still loved the movie. But yeah, if you want to make something that's subversive and you want to make something experimental, why not just go full force with it? Why not just go ahead, make something abstract as shit, like just upload it to YouTube? Because I've seen they're charging like $12 for this on YouTube to buy it. That's way too much. That's way too much for this. Like, to rent it, it's $5, and I even think that's too much. Because, like, I could buy a $5 movie. Like, my Blu-ray of Hereditary here costed $5 on Amazon. I'd rather watch that again. Even though I don't really need to right now. But, like, yeah, just... If you're going to have an experimental idea that's supposed to be subversive and different and against the norm, don't just shove in jump scares, because that ruins all tension. And if you want people to get sucked into the world of the film, don't do that, because that's manipulation, and it's manipulating their ability to, like, you know, pay attention to the film, your experiment that you're thrusting upon people. I just don't know what else to say about this. It's just the parts that I liked. Yes, I liked the first person scenes where the kid goes into the parents' room. I think it was the girl first, Kaylee, went into the parents' room, talked to the dad. The dad says, "Look under the bed." And then she looks up, looks back under the bed, looks up, sees her mom there, and the mom tells her that she loves her. And up until the jump scare, that scene was creepy to me, because it was like actually shit happening. And I was like, oh, the voices are actually pretty creepy, and I was off-put by it. Like, if the film had more of that, it wouldn't have been too bad. I mean, also, this movie looks ugly. This movie looks like it was filmed on 8mm. I guess... sorry, I hit my mic. I guess this movie was made, or filmed with a film camera. It doesn't look like the, like, filter that you'd put on digital to make it look like film. So, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. but the movie looks like crap. It looks really horrible quality. It probably looks better on a theater screen, blown up, but yeah, for me, most of the movie was really hard to see. It was way too dark. And like I said, make the darkness a character and make the darkness mean something. Make it an allegory. That's what all these artsy fartsy bullshit movies do. They have to make everything an allegory. Make it an allegory for child abuse or some shit. But yeah, I haven't seen this director's short film that this is supposedly based on. I don't know if I can take 30 more minutes of this shit, because it was already hard getting through the 100 minutes of this. But yeah, I just don't know what else to say, really. Just... it's just kind of a hard thing to review, even though I've gone 26 minutes so far, which is longer than most of my reviews recently. It's just... I wish more had been done with this concept. Hopefully Kyle Eberball will use the probably $1 million he'll get from this. Since it made $2 million, he probably gets like half the cut or some shit. But like, hopefully, maybe he gets the $2 million. I don't know how this shit works. But hopefully he'll use the money and actually like get good actors, good sets, good cinematography. The only bit of cinematography I remember from the movie was when the kid's in the upside down world where he's on the ceiling and everything's on the ground. That was cool. It's a shame I still think this is a 3 out of 10. Which is bad for me, because I almost never get that low. I'm very lenient with films. But, yeah. Not much else I can say. I don't recommend the film. Even if you're into, like, artsy shit, I don't really recommend it. If you're open to weird, like... If you're open to weird horror that's, like, very hyper, I guess that's how I'd say it. Tag. It was kind of action-y, kind of horror, kind of... It was kind of like a horror anime, but live action. It was really weird. But yeah, my camera keeps freezing. Shit. But yeah, I guess that'll be it for me. Comment down below your thoughts on the film, if you like the film. The jump scares that I was talking about, I actually uploaded a short video compiling the ones that I caught. I think I filmed them good enough that YouTube won't take them down for copyright. But it's only like a minute of the film altogether. But yeah, check those out if you need to know what I was talking about, the ear rape. But yeah, I'll see y'all later, and Movie Review Next Door out.